Nintendo just dropped a new trailer for Super Mario 3D World plus Bowser's Fury on the Switch, and as a surprise bonus with it, has revealed a new special edition Mario Switch system, which looks really nice, but it's kind of immediately raising some questions for a lot of people of, what does this mean for Switch Pro? Punching on just the shoes, yeah. Now, while this morning's trailer was focused on showing off Bowser's Fury, a side announcement that Nintendo made was revealing a special Mario Edition Switch, which is this all-red design featuring some blue trim on some aspects like the Joy-Con grip, which I think looks really nice. I'm actually really excited about this. I'm a big fan of the color red, but something that is happening at the same time as this being revealed is a lot of people having this kind of mixed sentiment of, oh, that looks cool, but what about Switch Pro? Basically, every comment about it is either, that looks nice, but why are they dangling in front of me when I think a Switch Pro is coming soon? Or, that looks cool, but I would only buy it if it was a Switch Pro. The Switch Pro is a very heavily demanded thing, at least from a core audience of people who have been playing on the Switch right away and are just looking for a way of getting something that's maybe a little bit more powerful. And it is, of course, one of the longest running, strongest rumors as far as what kind of hardware people are expecting. And there's been all kinds of rumors recently circulating about whether or not we might be getting one soon. And with a special edition system coming out that is, at least as far as we know right now, a regular Nintendo Switch, it raises a lot of questions of whether or not that means anything about a new model coming out in the future, and whether or not maybe it is further away than some people would like. Which, by the way, I am planning on grabbing that Mario Red Switch, at least if I can beat all the bots that are going to try and rush ahead of me to do it. But assuming I do get one, I am planning on unboxing on the channel, so make sure to subscribe if you want to see some more footage of that system. I think the main thing to really look at here is Nintendo's recent history when it comes to releasing special edition systems and how that lines up with new hardware coming out. Because a lot of times when you look at what they've been doing lately, there's usually a bit of a gap where special editions don't launch for maybe about a year, and then they release them alongside hardware refreshes. It's very rare for Nintendo to do a situation where, say, they release a special edition and then 3 months later, by the way, here's new hardware. For instance, let's take a look at what happened with the Switch in 2019. At the end of the year, we got the release of the refreshed Nintendo Switches that had the better battery life and ran a little cooler, along with the Switch Lite. And both of these systems got special editions very shortly after their releases, the refreshed Switches getting the Disney Tsum Tsum and Dragon Quest XI-S designs, while the Switch Lite, of course, got that Pokemon Sword and Shield one. Before the release of these new systems, though, there was actually quite a noticeable gap since we got any other special edition system. Nothing else came out in 2019, instead all being heavily loaded in late 2017 and 2018. If you go even further back, this can also be seen with how Nintendo approached special editions on the 3DS. The Wii U really didn't have any. I mean, they did the one with Wind Waker where the gamepad looked special, but there's not exactly a great track record of, multiple Wii U's to worry about. But when you look at the 3DS where there were multiple revisions and new models that came out, every time there was some kind of major system refresh, there was an accompanying special edition not too long after. And before the release of these new editions, there's usually a little bit more of a noticeable gap because obviously they were kind of waiting until the new ones came out. So with people hoping to see a Switch Pro model sometime this year, seeing a special edition regular model coming out in February doesn't exactly give the biggest high hopes of that Pro model happening very soon. Now, there is one kind of exception to this that I think is worth pointing out, in that I think this model was meant to come out a little sooner originally. As we know, 2020 caused a lot of problems as far as production and development. A lot of things got pushed back and aren't being released when they originally planned to, and it makes a lot of sense when you think about it that this special edition Switch was probably intended for late last year. 2020 was, of course, the 35th anniversary of the Mario franchise. We got all those different games being released as part of celebrating it. We got the 3D All-Stars collection. And so it makes a lot of sense that a special edition Mario system would have been tied into that. And instead, we're getting it a couple months later, near the end of the celebration, which is ending in March, with the release of the special system alongside 3D World. With that context in mind, I think there is at least some argument for the idea that if a Switch Pro is in development and was planned for some time this year, it wouldn't be that outlandish to have a regular special edition system come out not too long before it. I do think this definitely means that we're not expecting any kind of brand new hardware in the next couple months. I already thought that was kind of a very not likely thing, but for people that are hoping to see a Switch Pro in any form sometime soon, I think at the soonest we're really seeing it late this year. Because again, Nintendo had an amazing sales year for the Switch in 2020, and so there's not really any reason to outright replace the system. A special edition gives you that kind of limited run feeling, and so some people are going to buy it purely for the sake of collector, or maybe they just really love the color red and they're down to replace their Switch finally. And I think it's the kind of move that Nintendo is not going to release that system only to make it entirely irrelevant a few months later. Again, I don't think that means that a Switch Pro this year is an impossibility, but it certainly means that if there is one happening this year, it's not gonna be anytime super soon, instead likely being that holiday season of November, December. The only way I really see a new Switch model coming out sooner than that is if it's something that isn't really a one-to-one upgrade, but instead some kind of weird other option. One theory I have thrown out actually really recently again in that 2021 video was talking about what if they worked on some kind of permadocked option that's an opposite Switch Lite. I could see something like that coming out reasonably not too long after a Mario Edition Switch, because that doesn't really replace it, doesn't invalidate that purchase. It doesn't make someone who bought that system go, damn it, why did I spend money on this Mario Switch when there is a new Switch coming out that does everything the same but better? I don't see Nintendo pulling that kind of move. Now, in all fairness, this is 100% conjecture based on just the fact that this system is coming out and looking at Nintendo's history when it comes to special edition systems versus hardware refreshes, but at the same time, all the rumors in favor of a Switch Pro happening soon are just as baseless right now. I mean, we've had little things here and there that point out that there might be something in the works on Nintendo's end, but again, there's not really any hard evidence pointing towards it being something happening anytime remotely soon, and even what form it might take. If the Switch Pro is something that you've been really wanting and you've even been holding off on buying a regular Switch because you've just got your fingers crossed that's gonna happen sometime soon, it looks like you might have to be waiting a little longer.